Once upon a time, the Cleveland Browns had one of the biggest home field advantages in the entire NFL. Now it's 2023 and we look at it, and the Cleveland Browns have one of the most quiet stadiums I've ever heard of. We're going to talk about what the heck happened to the Dawg Pound. It's the laughing stock right now. We'll talk about that coming up next on the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dawg Pound, LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And to all of you, thanks for making Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. And to all the everydayers, welcome back. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. My co-host from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, 11 to 1, Monday through Friday on YouTube. Of course, on-air personality, 92.3 The Fan, the barbershop. Always open, always there for the cuts and the takes. Mr. Garrett Bush at GBush91. Little less fire with the Cleveland Browns here than the last couple of days. And I'll be honest with you, that's probably a good thing. But G. Bush, my friend, what we got on tap for the good folks today?
Well, we definitely get to your questions. We got a little fan mail coming up. We'll answer your questions about coming up on the draft, coming up with the team, and kind of previewing what's going on in 2023. We'll answer those questions as well. Then we know that Nick Chubb is a big-time baller. He's one of the best backs in the league. But I did not know he was this good. We'll come up with we'll let you know what Pro Football Focus says and just how good they think he is over the span of his career. We'll do that. But first, we got to get to this, Jeff. The Dawg Pound is a joke. The Dawg Pound is so far removed from what it used to be. And this topic came up of conversation came up, and we're going to talk about this on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show tomorrow. So you get a little preview right now. Back in the 80s, during the Cardiac Kids, during Bernie Kosar's heyday, Clay Matthews, Michael Dean Perry, when you used to have to come into the Municipal Stadium, you knew a couple of things. You knew that it was going to be loud. It was going to be vicious. It was going to be very contentious for the opposing team. You were going to have that wind whipping off that lake. It was going to be it was nothing to look at. It was an ugly stadium. It was trashy. It had a dirt infield for most of the part of the year. It didn't even look like they spray painted the dirt green so they could play. But one thing you knew is that the fans were actually part of the team. The fans were almost on the roster. The fans showed you that when you look at what the Cleveland Browns wanted to do, the fans, they literally helped the Browns propelled them to victories. When, opposing teams getting down by the Dawg Pound, couldn't hear a thing. Guys, when people talk about how crazy and ridiculous it was down there, it was just a new era. It was one of those things where you look at it, I just always looked at the Dawg Pound as a necessity, as something that would help the Browns. As we pivot right now, Jeff, at FirstEnergy Stadium, which is not FirstEnergy Stadium no more, it's just Cleveland Brown Stadium, which they changed that today. There is no home field advantage. There's no sound. There's no too much barking. It's third down. That is terrible. That is terrible. Right now, the Cleveland Browns have no sort of home field advantage, and that's why when people talk about they want an outdoor venue, they don't want a dome. They want people to come here when it's cold outside. Jeff, no one's scared to play here. No one's fearful of coming in here. And if you're not going to have a dome, at least have the restrictions lifted where you can actually have some sort of intimidation going on, where teams feel you when they come into the stadium. It just doesn't feel the same, and it hasn't looked like that, frankly, since Dawg Municipal Stadium.
Oh, it's probably, this has probably been the case since the team returned. And I will be fair. I think this is home field advantage. And I don't want to say it's a myth, but I would say it's something that certainly, has gotten watered down as the years have gone by, and probably in all of professional sports. And, the Browns' lack of success certainly, does not help it. And, in no way, are we trying to, knock the fan base. I mean, you guys still show up. You do, but it's really, really hard. There's teams who, are successful and go on playoff runs 5, 6, 7 years in a row. That hasn't happened. So a lot of you go to games and, you enjoy it. You have a good time. But most of the time you go into it with the open eyes of this might not be our day. And, you've kind of, and sadly, and it's true, a lot of, we've all grown accustomed to being on the wrong end of the stick, so to speak. And, oh, great. Yeah, we want to go see, and we're going to go in there for the first 15 minutes and say, we want to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then realization comes in and maybe it, doesn't come to fruition. I think overall, other teams, and I was one of these guys. I enjoyed playing more at an opposing, road games than I played home games. It was different.
Kind of bumped up a little bit in a different way. You knew it was all you had was in the locker room. You couldn't expect to get a bump for anywhere. I actually agree with you on that, Jeff.
Somebody is talking S to you. Somebody's giving you the finger. Somebody tells you suck. It's like, all right, well, you want to know what? Bet it's on. I'm going to give you the best that I got. At home, it's not like that. You get your pats on the back. The fans are happy to see you. If you acknowledge them, shake some kids' hands, toss some gloves into the crowd. That's part of the experience now, and it's certainly a little different. And this certainly, and this dates back to just the way the game is now. The fact that these guys are all close, you know what I'm saying? Back in the day, do you ever think Clay Matthews Jr. and the left tackle from the Pittsburgh Steelers were ever going to sit down, break bread, and share tweets together and DM each other on a social? No, it was the way it was. You want this place to be more formidable. You want people to say, well, and this obviously a lot of this has to do is with now that it is back to Cleveland Browns Stadium, and I got to be honest with you, I'm just fine with that. I am just fine with Cleveland Browns Stadium, but you want it to be more of a hostile place for teams to come and play. You got to be a better franchise. You got to be a more consistent winning franchise. There's just no way around it. That's the way it works. You got to win games.
I do think winning. I think winning helps. When you go 1-31, that does a lot. There's nothing much to cheer from. People are still working their way back from this. But I will say, things have gotten a little more expensive. Like back then, people was out here in the Muni lot. They were hammered before they even walked in. So they was already ready.
5 dudes killed a keg together.
And then now it's different because people will bring their kids to the Dawg Pound. Like before, that was not a thing you did. You knew not to bring young, impressionable children down there because it got dirty. The Dawg Pound wasn't nothing for the faint of heart. So I think that, and plus one thing, if they wanted to be like that, they got to do things to encourage it. They got to do things in terms of saying, okay, the next time we create a stadium, let's think about the logistics. Let's think about the acoustics. Let's think about certain things that we can invent, that we can put in place that gives us that advantage. And I just think Cleveland Browns Stadium, the way it's built, I don't think it holds sound that well. And I just think the open layout just really does not keep the acoustics in. You accompany that with, there's less and less rowdy people, more and more corporate people, more and more casual people, and you end up with a medium sauce type of environment.
medium. I might want to go mild, but hey, who's the one, who's pulling straws here. But look, I think it'll change. But the other thing is, you put a roof on that sucker, there's nowhere for the noise to go. This team gets successful. You had a roof on that place, changes the whole atmosphere. But again, man, this ain't that everybody goes to these games, and God bless you for it, because God knows you've all, filled, you've all taken on your share of heartache, and you love your team. But for some of you, and I don't blame you, there's nothing wrong with saying, the game starts at 1, but babe, go ahead, start dinner at 4. I'll be home by 5, because most likely the Browns going to be on the wrong end of this one.
Yeah.
We're going to switch it up here, and there's never not enough appreciation for Nick Chubb, but every now and then you get another nugget and you realize, how great and how glorious Nick Chubb has been in his time with the Cleveland Browns. We're going to get to that. Jeff Lloyd, Garrett Bush, your latest Locked On Browns. Looking for a delicious snack, but don't want all the sugar and calories? Then you need the best tasting protein bar ever built. You got to try this. If you're like me and you want to make healthier snack choices, but you do not want to compromise on taste, I've got just the thing for you. Built bars are built puffs. Built bars are healthy and taste amazing. Seriously, they taste so amazing, you won't think that they're good for you, and you gotta try them. What makes Built bars so good? Well, for starters, they are all covered in 100% real chocolate. Again, that's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter, brownie, and cookies and cream. And now you don't need to wait to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built bars at Built.com. Hey, you can still do that. But now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club, while you still get your quality specialty flavors at Built.com. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart or Sam's Club and go to the health food section, and you can buy yourself some bars. If you're close to Sam's Club, again, run in, grab a 13-bar box, mixed flavors, brownie batter, puff, and churro puff. And guys, gals, y'all can thank me later.
To the Locked On Browns podcast, your team every single day. And thank you for making us your first listen of each and every day. Jeff, we know how great a guy like Nick Chubb is, but sometimes you have to really be, well-versed, and you got to take other people to show you exactly how good he is. This is an article from PFF, I believe. Yes, it is. It's PFF highest career grades. And this is players from the 2018 class. You got Nick Chubb leading the way at 94.5 as far as his grade is concerned. Josh Allen is led, comes in is second with 91.6. Mark Andrews, the tight end for Baltimore, 91.2. Jair Alexander, 90.7. Derwin James, 90.4. Dallas Goedert, Jesse Bates, Fred Warner, Saquon Barkley, and Quentin Nelson, all of those individuals, bring up the rear end. And when you basically see this, man, like, if you want to round that, that's 95%. That this guy is great now. That sometimes I said this on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and people got mad at me. I said, look, I I like Nick Chubb's skill set and his raw tools better than I like Emmitt Smith. And people went crazy. G. Bush, you can't say it. I said, look, man, just don't take a look. We know it's Emmitt. We know he had longevity. We know what he was behind one of the greatest offensive lines that we've ever seen. He put the numbers up, and you got to have respect on his name. But from a perspective of making a guy miss, from a perspective of yards per carry, in terms of a guy that can run past you, he can run over you, he can run through you, he can sidestep you. He's just a bowling ball to deal with. His vision, finding lanes, always seems to be moving forward. So, Jeff, to me, Nick Chubb, we might not understand it today, but Nick Chubb is a guy who I would consider, to me, I'm doing the Udonis Haslem move. Udonis Haslem has been playing for the Miami Heat for 97 years. All they want him to do is to come to training camp and let everybody know what the Miami Heat way is. He's almost a hired sword of Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley. So for me, I feel like Nick Chubb, I would be like, look, Nick Chubb is always going to be on the roster. I don't care if he's a third down running back. We're going to have him on the roster regardless, as long as he wants to be here. This just proves just how prolific his first couple of years have been in the league.
Now, G, obviously you and I, over the years we're doing what we're doing. We've developed a relationship with Joe Thomas. And you talk with Joe Thomas, and it's like, you almost want to kind of like, I'm not going to say smack him in the back of the head because you're Joe Thomas. Tap him on the back of the head and be like, man, you don't have to be this unassuming man that you are. You're a damn superstar. And this is Nick Chubb. And you look at this great, and you look to go 5 years in the NFL and to have a career grade of 94.5. Just kind of equate this, y'all, real quick. Were any of y'all straight A students for 5 years of your life at any point? 5 straight years? No. But Nick is this guy. And, it was always very interesting. And everybody, why is this analytic front office extending a running back that goes so against the grain of the way the running back position is viewed? Why? Because he's a cornerstone piece. And we say it all the time. Hey, kid, nice to meet you. Welcome to, your first training camp. That's Nick Chubb. If you can be 70% of the type of person, not talking about God-given ability, but if you conduct yourself the way that Nick Chubb does, not only are you going to have a long career here in Cleveland, you're going to have a long career in the NFL overall. Do what is asked of you. Do extra. Make your job, which is playing a game that can make you a boatload of money, make that your first and foremost priority. We don't know if Nick Chubb's got a pet. We don't know if Nick Chubb's in a relationship, G. We don't know any of that stuff. What we know is that Nick Chubb cares and breathes each and every day about being the best running back he can be and representing the Cleveland Browns in the best possible way he can. He is an absolute joy to cover as a professional athlete. As we are now in this day and age of social media and this and that and names and headlines for this, that, and half the time you're like, oh man, somebody's name is trending. And you go to it and you're like, really? Like for this? Or guys are beefing at each other on social media.
We just had a show about this yesterday. We had the Perry I Winfrey Chronicles. Yep. And guess what? You don't even have to worry about a guy like Nick Chubb being on this list or anything like that. And it just goes to show you, Jeff, not only is he good, he's Stefanski said he's not low maintenance, he's no maintenance.
Absolutely. And and just real quick here, if y'all remember in 2018, I was all for Baker wouldn't end up being at 1, but I tried to tell y'all Jaire Alexander, I'll take him at 4. Not that I don't love Denzel, not that Denzel's not been fantastic, but this goes to show you as well as 2018 was incredible draft class. Josh Allen to have a grade like that playing the quarterback position is nuts. Mark Andrews, great player. Derwin James, Dallas Goedert, Jesse Bates. And by the way, it is so nice to see that Atlanta Falcon logo next to Jesse Bates' name. No, and he is gone. Fred Werner, Saquon, Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson went to my high school, man. I talked with his moms and stuff like that to see that he's been this type of guy. It was a great draft class, great bunch of kids. And this is why the Browns are in, and it's always going to be a difficult situation going further with Nick Chubb, because Nick Chubb, you say to yourself, year 6, are you starting to get a little nervous about your running back? Are you getting a little bit, it is year 6. It's, but you want to know what? Nick Chubb deserves the benefit of the doubt, because games, he always pans out. You never question the work ethic. Andrew Berry, if his wife leaned over and said, uh-oh, Andrew, your phone's going off, the one person he's going to say, well, it's not about Nick. Yeah, I know, right. It's not about Nick. It ain't Nick. That it's like the one kid, he is never going to be the issue, but you do also understand at some point it for running backs, and it sucks for running backs. It's It's that, man. All of a sudden, it's just gone and it's over, and they just don't have it anymore. But the Browns will give and continue to give Nick Chubb every benefit of the doubt until that day comes, because it's not just the play. It's everything else that he does. Slam dunk, generational player for this franchise. And he will be mentioned. And there will be a name, whatever stadium it'll be at that point. But there will be a spot for number 24, Nick Chubb. Make no mistake about that. We're going to continue to move it on here. Jeff Lloyd, G. Bush. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns your first listen, and to all the everydayers. Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Well, Jeff, you know what we got to get to here. We got to get to fan mail, one of my new favorite segments here. And if you guys want to get an opportunity to do fan mail, make sure you hit us up at gbush91 on Twitter, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. And you too can get your questions and answers right here on each and every episode of the Locked On Browns podcast. Let's get to the first one that we do have here. And this looks like I think I know you. I think I know this guy. Ha! This isn't the guy I know. But shout out to Jack the Common Man. We appreciate your question, and we want to say thank you for helping our podcast grow. There you go.
Thank you, Jack.
At Bodmer_Jack says, with all of the mock drafts I've seen, very few have the Browns addressing linebacker. I see this is currently the weakest unit going into 2023 with very little depth. What will the Browns do to address this position? I think when we talk about this Jeff, in the situation is the Browns have, I believe, one of the biggest glaring issues so far is the linebacking core. The linebacking core, you know, they have guys, and we've addressed this on this show a lot of times. They have guys that I think that they're confident in terms of making plays and being veterans. But the problem is those guys all have an extensive history of having injuries. So for me, I think what you're going to look to find here is there may be a linebacker that may be in the draft, but what I think is happening between linebacker, between receiver, and between defensive tackle, I think the Browns move up and say, if there's a guy that they have really rated highly in either one of those positions, even an edge rusher, I think what the Browns will do is take those picks, package them up, and get an impact player rather than just getting bodies. So I think they'll do that, and there may be an opportunity to get a linebacker or two in terms of as the OTAs go through and as people start to move around a little bit. I think they'll possibly bring in another veteran as well. But, Jeff, I think that they're going to bring a linebacker in. I do believe linebacker right now is the I would say the weakest link so far. Where do you think they can go to get a linebacker that would bolster this unit?
There's no question. I think they're going to bring in, a linebacker of the future of this team. And just quickly read some tea leaves. Sione Takitaki, 1-year deal. Anthony Walker, 1-year deal. Jacob Phillips, final year of his contract. You always want to be looking ahead, and that's certainly the way, Andrew Berry and this analytic lens does things. But it's also a little bit difficult because when you draft said linebacker, you don't think that necessarily he's going to see much playing time in year one. The Browns are committing 2 roster spots to linebackers with a special teams background. If guys start to go down, then yes, those guys who play on special teams are going to be counted on to take some more linebacker reps. It's just the way it's going to work. What happened yesterday in the Perion Winfrey news, this doesn't help things.
Nope.
Because the priority right now still, and look, if the Browns, I think they're still going to put pen to paper with, a veteran or two before, the draft starts on the defensive line position. But until they do, that is the primary focus. We do not know who the other starting defensive tackle is right now next to Dalvin Tomlinson. That's just being realistic. That's just straight up being realistic. And you can look at edge and you can say, well, you have Miles. You have Okoronkwo. Alex Wright started some games last year. Isaiah Thomas, I'm going to keep saying his name because I think Isaiah Thomas fits this defense under Jim Schwartz better than some people are giving credit for. But yes, the Browns will draft one linebacker, but here is also the thing. The two stars, and we talked about Trenton Simpson, Jack Collins from Iowa, everybody loves. You're not trading up for a linebacker. You're just not. If you're trading up, it's more important to get it done on the D line. And then we get to this linebacker class that's good, but it's a small class. And a lot of these guys seem like will linebackers. And again, I think the Browns will address it. I truly do. But it's not going to be the biggest thing. And look, even if you wanted it to be, the Perion Winfrey news yesterday halted that and certainly put an elevated defensive tackle even higher than it was on the Browns need list.
All right, let's get to another one. This is from the Spoken Brown Tiger. He says, first of all, I follow you in the barbershop. We appreciate that. Continue to do that. We appreciate you over there. And it says, should we worry about another DeShaun Watson suspension by the league for the newest DeShaun Watson case? No. So the DeShaun Watson suspensions are a thing of the past.
Didn't this pretty much come out and say this was over? Like even if anything else came down the pike, I thought this was pretty sure we were, this was kind of dead and buried.
Yeah, if there was he's still talking. These are still the cases, the couple cases that he needed to finish up that had civil cases, and I think there's two of those that he still has to be deposed in, but those are stemming back from 2021 and during those time periods in 2020 and all those times. So unless DeShaun Watson has any sorts of new allegations that stem from the last year or something that was current, there aren't going to be any more suspensions. He's already served his 11-game suspension. This is pending just the stuff that was still left over from the cases that he did not settle outside of court. So no, DeShaun Watson won't receive any new suspensions. Your thoughts on that, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, look, and and I hate to sound like we're poo-pooing on something that was such a serious topic in every way, and it is. But that part of his career here with the Browns, that's over with for now. Nobody's probably going to change their way of thinking if you're aggravated and you don't like him because of it. I get it. That has nothing to do with Garrett and I and what our jobs are here to do. Our job is to report on-field play, and that's what we have to do here. But I think, for now, obviously, I think that part and the discussions of those parts of number 4's career, that is now a back burner topic. It is everything about what number 4 can do for this team on the field going further.
And thank you, the Spoked Brown Tiger, for
a little Boston Bruins logo in there, a little Boston Bruins logo. Not bad.
Appreciate you helping this show grow. And then last but not least, as we look at this, we got a familiar face here. I think I know this guy. Is
it another idiot from Jersey? Is it another dummy from Jersey?
Yeah, I think so. Another Jersey guy, Mikey McNuggets.
I gotta be honest. First thing I'm going to say is it sounds like Mikey McNuggets is cracking a whip here a little bit on his staff. But go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, you snuck this one in. He says, how close to the start of the show do UCSS hosts usually arrive to the studio? So let me just tell you this:
11 a.m. live, right? 11 a.m. live, right?
11 a.m. live is when we go on. Now, I'll say this. First of all, we appreciate you for helping the show grow, and we appreciate your little question. I will say full disclosure, Bull is usually the first one there. He is always there early. So he's probably, if the show is we have a 10:30 meeting to go over different things, right? To go over what the rundown is. If the meeting is at 10:30, Bull is usually there at 10, right? He's usually there at 10. He drops his son off.
Bull is from the school of it takes zero talent to be on time. Yeah. So, look, and if you ain't early, then you're late.
So usually the next person in out of the team, I would say Tyvis is pretty good because Tyvis is driving from Columbus. So Tyvis Powell, Ohio State Buckeye, a part of the show. He's usually in probably a little bit after that. Then I would say, okay, after that, I would say Brad Sellers comes in, but he's probably about, I want to say he's in the 50s too. He's probably 1050, 1049. And during that time, so I would say Jason Lloyd is around that time as well. And then so it comes down to the last three. Mike Polt Jr. he's probably there at about 1057-ish, but he comes in and he's 1057. Dennis, me and Jay are always behind each other. Either I'm behind him or he's in front of me. So we get there about 10:58:30. So we didn't already did the call in the car. We didn't already did the call in the car, and then we get there. Jay so's good with it. He got his own earpiece and his own equipment. So he coming, he already suited and lavalier, mic'd up. All he coming is just plug his stuff in. I might be 30 seconds ahead, but I gotta have other people to put my mic on. I can't do it. I can't reach my back. I can't, my neck. I don't be. So it's like, yeah, it's about we do it with about 30 seconds to spare.
Mikey, I get it. And the mic, I don't know how you do it with so many people. I don't know how because McNugget's got to be sitting there sweating like, what are you guys doing to me? But here's the good news. Mikey, we always appreciate you. And when you get your butt back here to Jersey for a little summertime, Mikey, we're going to sit down. We're going to have some food. We're going to tell some stories, drink some beers.
By the way, somebody told me Jeff Lloyd is going to make his debut on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show coming up in a couple weeks. So I don't know what day it's going to be.
Man, this is what it's all about, man. And look, it's been a crazy ride here as we're getting close almost to the 1 year, obviously, of Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Obviously, 1 year, G joining here on Locked On Browns. Look, a lot of work goes into it. And we love the fact that you are all here for us every single day. He is Garrett Bush at GBush91, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Maybe, 10:59 in 45 seconds or, 11:01 a.m. The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show live on YouTube. On air personality 923 The Fan. Barbershop is open every Saturday morning, so make sure you're checking that out. Any other things from Garrett, make sure you're checking out at GBush91. You follow over there, you've got everything you need. Myself personally at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Show itself at Locked On Browns. We appreciate all of you for making Locked On Browns your first listen, and to all you everydayers. Man, it's just great. And like the feedback, and like I see you, man, there are people who like every episode. There are people who retweet every episode. And man, you guys are just so stinking kind with that. It's crazy, to be received in that way. Audio side, always available, always free on your favorite podcast platform. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dawg Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.